You have a hidden superpower. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to discover and use your superpower to get an edge in your business, your job, and your life. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to communicate with AI to uncover and use your superpower. So what we need to understand is that the mind of an AI agent is not like the mind of a human, because the mind of the AI is a construct that's built with the entire corpus of human history. Every book ever written, every idea ever transcribed, every conversation ever recorded lives somewhere floating around the mind of every AI model. Let me show you what I mean. So what I want to do here is talk to a specialized agent, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new agent for this. So we're just going to call this guy the mirror. Why am I calling him the mirror? Because he's going to reflect back our own ideas, but in higher resolution. For this kind of conversation, I usually get the best results out of Gemini. So I'm selecting Gemini as the model, and for right now, I'm not going to give any system message. Why? Because I don't need to. In general, we don't want to give our agents any more context than what they actually need. So now I'm just going to find my agent in the list of agents here, and I'm going to click chat. Now this is a special kind of conversation that I'm having, and how I communicate with this agent right now determines how useful its responses will be. So I'm going to start by setting the tone of the entire conversation. And I'm going to do it by sharing some idea, some perspective that I have. And this can be anything. This should be something that resonates with you. It can be a product idea, a business idea, or just some random thought that you have. So for instance, one thing that's a curiosity to me is that I feel like working with AI has a lot in common with magic. And when I say magic, I mean like ancient ideas of magic. I mean Harry Potter and movie magic. I mean like writing scrolls and casting spells. So I'm starting out with exactly this thought, and I'm asking the agent to help me explore this idea. So part of why I like Gemini for this is because it's just going to go all in and be 100% supportive of any crazy thing you say. And you have to be a little bit careful here. You have to stay grounded and remember that you're probably not quite as special as Gemini says that you are. Look, it says, this is a fascinating and incredibly rich comparison. All right, and for any of this, my goal isn't to take any of this literally, but rather all I'm doing is farming for ideas. So I'm not going to read this entire response out loud, but basically what you'll do is you'll read the response and then you'll see what pops out to you, right? It's giving me different ideas here. Prompts as incantations, the black box, and latent space, and evocation and alignment. Oh, and we got servitors and familiars, and then we have alchemy. So I'm going to find a thread in here that I find particularly interesting. For instance, this thing about the latent space is actually really interesting. So I'm going to ask it, tell me more about the latent space and what it means from a perspective of magic. And we'll see what this comes up with. All right, so we have a response, and basically it's telling us about the latent space. And if you're unfamiliar with what the latent space is, the latent space is basically this. It's kind of like the theoretical space where all of the ideas in the LLM are floating in a cloud of pure potential. And in that cloud is all of the ideas that it has and all of the possible responses that it can give. And when you write a prompt, the latent space collapses down into a single response. All right, so I'm just explaining what the latent space actually is. And this is part of why I think that AI is kind of like magic, because we have stuff like the latent space. All right, so this response gives us some perspectives, some ways that we can think about the latent space from the perspective of magic. So one of the things that catches my eye is this idea here, scrying and chaos magic. And it says scrying is the ancient magical practice of staring into a chaotic or formless medium, like a crystal ball, a bowl of black water, fire, or tea leaves, while holding an intention. The practitioner's mind, or the spirits, organizes that chaos into a meaningful vision. And the magical meaning? This is literally how AI image generation diffusion models work. Okay, so this is true, it's interpretation of the magical meaning, but I'm actually thinking about it slightly different, because this idea of scrying, this is actually literally what we're doing right now, right? I'm giving it prompts to think about, and from that prompt, it's giving me a bunch of hallucinated chaos. I'm treating these responses kind of like tea leaves. Right? I'm not trying to invoke any spirits or anything, but I'm looking into the chaos and I'm shaping it with my own ideas and my own perspective. All right? So in my response to this, I'm going to focus on this idea of scrying, and I'm going to correct what it said. Not that what it's saying is wrong here, but I'm just pushing the conversation and shaping it more to be like my own thoughts and ideas. So what I'm going to tell it is basically what I just explained. I said I like the idea of AI as a form of scrying, but I think of it more like what we're doing right now. You're giving me ideas based on my prompts, and I'm shaping those ideas back to my own perspective. So I'll give it this. By the way, down in the comments, I would love to hear what you would use this for, what some of your ideas are. Now, I want to show you something that's been happening this whole conversation. I started with a certain idea. It gave me a bunch of crap, and I set a focus. So basically, it's like I'm drawing a line from my original prompt through its response back to my next prompt. By doing this, I'm shaping the responses. I'm shaping the ideas that the AI has in its head. Out of all of the stuff it said, it knows that in particular, I want to focus on this. So then it explodes out into a bunch more stuff, and I focus and also reshape slightly. So you see, this is a conversation with a purpose, and I'm drawing a through line through the ideas. And Gemini is so supportive. That is a brilliant distinction. Thanks, Gemini. I needed that. All right, so we have a bunch more crap here. So out of the ideas in this response, this one almost gives me chills. Right? The obsidian mirror, otherwise known as the black mirror, right? It's almost just like a little bit too perfect of a metaphor, because now we literally all have black mirrors in our pockets every day, by which of course I mean your phone, or your computer monitor for that matter. I also really like this one, shaping the thought form. It says, through this chat we are building a thought form together. Your initial prompt was the seed. I provided the soil, the context and ideas. You are pruning the branches. With every turn of the conversation, this idea we are exploring becomes more robust, more complex and real. All right, so I think that we have some good ideas here. Now let's make all of this useful. So first I'm going to tell it what ideas I liked. All right, so here I just said exactly what I just said a second ago. So now let's do some actual magic. So I'm saying we now have a good foundation of ideas for how magic and AI connect. I want you to summarize these to a new document in eidolon/docs. All right, now this is really important. I'm actually going to write important in all caps. I'm saying find the through line of ideas that I validated and shaped. Don't add any of the ideas that I didn't directly mention in my response. All right, so we'll let it work. All right, excellent. Let's go look at the document. I'm going to docs, and there it is. Okay, it actually only summarized that last idea, that last response. So I'm going to give it a quick correction. So I'm just saying you summarized only the last response. I wanted you to summarize the entire conversation, focusing on the through line. Okay, let's go see if it fixed it. Go back to docs. And here it is. All right, and this is a lot better this time. The one thing I want to do up here is change the name. That's better. So now I have a document that summarizes that conversation, that has some of the ideas that we talked about. And this document was created just from me having a perspective and then filling out that perspective through this AI version of scrying. All right, but there's one more thing I want to show you. And this is how to make any of this really matter. Because we can use this document for content or ideas, but I promised you a superpower, and I deliver on my promises. By the way, like and subscribe to get more promises delivered. So what I'm going to say now is, explain how these ideas are my superpower, my edge in business and in life. All right, and here it comes. All right, I've talked about before how the antithesis pattern is the worst AI cliche. The antithesis pattern is, it isn't just da-da-da-da, it's da-da-da-da. And it says, understanding AI through this specific framework isn't just a cool philosophical concept, it is a massive competitive edge. All right, here's the important piece of this. You are using AI to amplify your thinking, right? It says that most people are treating AI like a vending machine. They put in a coin, they wait for a snack to drop. They are outsourcing their thinking. Guys, this is the wrong way to use AI. Using AI to outsource your thinking will make you dumb. You should be using AI to amplify your thinking. Using AI to amplify your thinking makes you smarter. Okay, here's another really good one. In a world where AI can plan a business, code an app, or draft a marketing campaign in seconds, the actual creation of content is no longer the hard part. The execution is becoming commoditized. The value has shifted entirely to the seed. Your superpower is your intent, your unique perspective, and your ability to ask the right questions. Because you know you have to plant the seed, you retain your visionary role. You are firmly in the driver's seat, setting the trajectory. All right, then we have this idea of the soil as infinite leverage. The AI provides the soil, the raw context and material instantly. You can manifest the raw materials for a project in minutes. Hey, look, it's that thing I said at the beginning. You have the collective knowledge of the latent space at your fingertips, giving you the leverage of a team of researchers, strategists, and analysts. All right, listen to this. The world is about to be flooded with average machine-generated noise. Alright, you have to keep in mind that Gemini's knowledge cutoff is still a couple of years ago. It doesn't realize that the world has already been flooded with machine-generated noise. Your edge, your ability to prune is what separates you from the noise. Guys, this is it. Taste and judgment are the new moats in business. By actively shaping the thought, cutting away generic fluff, injecting your own lived experience, and rejecting what doesn't align with your vision, you ensure that your final product is deeply authentic, sharp, and undeniably human. This whole thing is fantastic. So I'm just going to tell it really quick. I updated the name of the doc to AI Magic, and I'm just going to tell it with no extension. And I'm saying add a section that summarizes these ideas. Excellent. So let's just go check really quick, go to docs, AI Magic, and here we go. Perfect. All right, I talk a lot about alchemy of turning AI slop into gold. This document now is pure gold, right? And the reason is because I'm not just prompting and telling it to write whatever. I'm just using it to explore and then fill out my ideas. So this document is a reflection of me and my perspective, but reflected through this black mirror that has access to all of history. Your AI superpower is your unique perspective in the world, your lived experience, your expertise, the things that you can see that others can't see. And when you apply that focus and you combine it with this endless cloud of history and culture, you get something that looks a lot like a real superpower that applies only to you. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.